After a string of court victories scoring injunctions against the Biden administration's radical Title IX rewrite, which basically redefines the word sex, a federal court yesterday in Alabama actually struck down an attempt by the states of Alabama, Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina to halt enforcement of those rules before they go into effect tomorrow. Now, that's different than what we've seen in other courts. So we've got a confrontation coming. This is going to end up before the Supreme Court. Just don't know if it's going to happen in time before school starts. But there's another case, and it's a different lawsuit. A federal judge has ordered that the Title IX rewrite be blocked from any school with a parent who belongs to the group Moms for Liberty. Now, this list includes more than 2,000 schools in 45 states. So how's that going to work out? Joining me now to discuss this, Meg Kilgannon, Senior Fellow for Education Studies here at the Family Research Council. She served in the Department of Education during the Trump administration. Meg, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Hi, Tony. Thanks for having me.
So a disappointing outcome for Alabama. Of course, the Attorney General there, Steve Marshall, says he is going to appeal. But we've got other school districts, other states that have achieved a stay on these rules. So what's the latest?
Well, the latest is we have breaking news on Washington Watch today. The 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, the plaintiffs in the Alabama case appealed to the 11th Circuit, and they were granted an emergency injunction. So the rule that goes into effect tomorrow by the Biden administration will not have to be enforced in Alabama, South Carolina, Florida, or Georgia. So this was for a preliminary injunction, and it was for relief against having to enforce this rule before it is argued in court. So this is really great news. They had a win for about 24 hours in the Biden administration, and now they are back on defense.
So to be clear, when a court issues a stay or an injunction against a policy, that means that the plaintiff has a good chance of succeeding in their court case.
That's right. That is right. And so this decision that happened before the injunction was, this judge wrote a 122-page decision, and it was, I haven't read it yet, but I'm told that it was sort of creative in its effort to save this rule and to prevent this being enforced. We've seen a lot of creative legal strategies in this regard on Title IX.
Kind of like the creative definitions of sex. I mean, we've kind of taken everything and it's very elastic. So, you know, when words don't mean anything and when truth eludes us, I mean, how can you ever come to an agreement where it's just people will make up whatever they want to make up?
That's right. And they are ignoring the fact that sex at the time of the Title IX original rule being the original title being put into effect, sex meant male or female.
Right.
There was none of this other imagineering on the definition of sex. So this is a big overstep by the Biden administration, but this is a big overstep in many school districts across the country. Just because your school does not have to enforce this rule does not mean that they don't already have a policy that is essentially this rule in reality in your school, even in red states. So this is something that parents really need to be vigilant about, monitoring your school and making sure that this isn't happening where you live.
Especially in a red state where you happen to be in a major city where they've attracted kind of liberal administrators, this could very well be the policy. In fact, some of these schools were wanting the federal government to make this decision or make this, proposed rule. Therefore, they could get the heat off of them and say, oh, we had to do it. So how do parents, what should they do to find out what the policy is and what can they do about it?
Well, you should have on your school's website a way to search the website. And if you search for Title IX, there should be a Title IX person at your school who's responsible for enforcing Title IX, and you can email that person and ask them the question directly. There may be more explicit statements of support on the school's website, but if they're not there, you can do that. But I want to remind viewers too, what you mentioned at the top of the segment, which was that the case that involved Moms for Liberty and Young America's Foundation and Female Athletes United, if any of the schools in your state have a chapter of one of those groups, then your students are protected if they have a membership in your school, that's in your state. So there is a lot of relief from this rule, which is great, and we're very happy to see that. But it doesn't preclude, for example, where I live in Fairfax County, the students in Fairfax are not protected from any of this because Fairfax has this policy already. They didn't need the Biden administration to tell them to do this. So you need to find out in your school, are they already pursuing these kinds of policies or not? And we hope that the answer is no.
So the battle for sanity continues, and it's going to be up to moms and dads and concerned citizens across the country to know what's going on, and then once they know what is happening, step forward to make a difference if need be. This would be a great reason to run for a school board to make sure
It is a wonderful reason.
Yeah, make
Absolutely.
sure these types of policies do not come into your school and affect your children. Meg Kilgannon, always great to see you. Thanks so much for pitch hitting and coming in today and playing a little sports.
Thanks for having me.